Alrighty, take two.
Yeah, I don't remember what we said.
We did a teaser on like the Facebook on the BHP Facebook page. I'm not sure we really talked about it because our first dyno session was not a happy day.
Yeah. Yeah, this one came in with it was already someone else had done the build, and it needed a lot of finish work. I think like a lot of finish work. It has a dual intake fuel pump system, and the secondary fuel pump, the hop switch, wasn't even connected. Like all the wires, anything that went through the firewall at the driver's side was cut. And that was a wideband at one point.
Oh yeah.
It was the hop switch, the line lock, the switch that goes, it has an inner chiller. So the inner chillers have a switch that turns on and off the cabin AC. So at the racetrack, you're not running your cabin AC, making condensation on your evaporator. It's just running the inner chiller to cool your water in your heat exchanger system. So the switch turns on and off the cabin. It was cut. Anything that went to the back of the car was cut.
Do you think they sold it maybe and they're like, hey, I want to keep all this stuff?
I think that's what it was. I think it was a sale. I think somebody bought it like, hey, it's got
and
$2,300 on it.
Obviously made no good passes.
Yeah.
So it was not finished. They wouldn't make a pass. It was making like 18, 19 pounds of boost.
Initially. But it was going into belts so that really bad. It has overdriven rear cogs on here. It has the blower, the plenum spacers.
You said this is a 2300?
It's a 2300 and it's 8 rib.
103 throttle body.
Uses the
big
same
intake.
Yep.
That's probably, what's that, 5 inches?
Yeah, it's a 5-inch, kind of like a Big Gulp knockoff or something similar.
Then it has a bigger, lower innovative, or is that stock size?
I don't really know, to be honest with you. But it had a 2.7-inch upper standard. It was an older Grip Tech with the smooth finish. So we went to a 3-inch and with the Grip Tech surface on it, with the grippy machine process that they use.
And all the logs, it's making between 14 and 15 pounds. If you got a really cold day, today it's like 80 degrees. It'd probably make 15, 16.
Yeah, what is it, 83 in here?
83.
We had no belt wrap before on the upper. One, the upper was small, but two, the belt was too short. And this is an adjustable idler. The belt was so short that in order to get it on, they had the idler backed way back here. So, we were able to, it takes a little bit of trial and error. We used cheap belts initially to get the belt length correct, but in order to keep this tensioner in its happy spot and get as much belt wrap out of this idler as we can, we had to kind of...
Yeah, it's in a good spot, and we've made about 12 hits on it. We've got it dialed in now, and it's not moved. So that seems to be the happy spot, because as soon as you crank it, this one moves out a little bit, and it actually pulls against it.
These rubs are from previous.
Yeah, these are...
And it's just pipe installation, because it's inner chiller, but... yeah, no, it's
What's the other set? Do you know anything about the other setup of this car besides it has a blower on it?
It's supposed to be a built bottom end, stock cubic inch, forged pistons.
And it has great oil pressure. It runs and starts great now.
We have very little information about the build. I don't think the owner knows a ton about it other than what he was told, but it showed up with just nothing working. Everything was a wreck. We reran all the heat exchanger, relays, fuses, just a lot of cleanup work. And when something's clean, it's easy to work on and it's less prone to failure. So it has a 1.7, I think, gallon reservoir in here,
and it recovers pretty well.
It does, and that's the thing that
that's actually still cold.
It is, yeah, and it'll get super cold to the touch, but.
And I think driving it, we would actually be able to get it colder than just sitting here revving it.
With the inner chiller setups, a lot of people make the mistake of putting too big of a reservoir on the car, because
it's more than
an efficiency thing. It's just like if you had a small window air conditioning unit and you're trying to heat a 2,000 square foot house. You're trying to heat so much or cool so much water. The 1.7 gallon reservoir with what's in the lines and what goes through the inner chiller is kind of what they recommend. That's the efficiency range of the inner chiller. It keeps the water nice and cold. And we've seen, 50, 60. We start most of these pools at 70 degree IAT or less.
This car is so violent. I think he only got one pull because we were both working on it. This is one of those cars you can't just come out here and play with by yourself, because somebody has to be watching the belt, watching the tires, watching everything. When you'll see in the hit, it is so violent that we actually started rolling into the throttle easily because it just jerks the whole car.
It makes a ton of power immediately. That's the characteristic of the Roots. The other thing was the regulator.
Oh, yeah.
We redid all the fuel system. The regulator was actually zip tied up underneath the car back at the fuel tank. So
Now it's boost reference 1-to-1.
it's boost reference now, as it where it was not before. And we ran all PTFE lines from the back.
Motor seems solid. Like I said, great oil pressure. It's never smoked. The catch can's not filling up or smoking. It's doing good. And like I said, all the little details we're forgetting. And it has a full exhaust system on it. I'm not sure if it has mufflers on it. I'm sure you were under it. You might not remember.
I don't remember.
But it did have some kind of muffling because it's not that loud.
Reinstalled a wide band.
Oh yeah, we did some interior. You did some interior work too.
Things inside. I put the switches and put the switch for the intercooler by the radio, along with the line lock button, and then the wideband in the.
So the way the interchiller works, of course, everyone should know. I think we talked about it once previously, but what happens is it uses your air conditioning to cool the fluid. If you have this off, then your interior cabin, like he was talking about previously, will not get cold. It'll just stay, you know, whatever you got from the outside. Then if you turn the switch this way, then it'll operate your air conditioning and your interchiller. So you probably lose a little efficiency, but not tons. The first tuning session was so bad. This is where we ended up at, and it wasn't any fault of ours. It's just the combination was not ready to be tuned.
Yeah, 511. It should. I mean, this car was a little bit wonky with the tack signal.
Yeah.
Some of the cars have some noise, and whether it's an aftermarket alternator or something strange going on, we had to work with it to find whether we could get a
I think
tack.
Dusty tried at least a dozen spots
Oh my
yesterday.
gosh. Yeah, it's a pain. Not all of them are like that, but for whatever reason, this was run number 7.
Yeah.
So there was 6 pulls to get just to this point, but as you can see, the boost, it was belt slip.
So
falling
yeah,
off.
belt slip would fall off, and we were like, all right, we're done. And even if we would have finished it, I don't think it would have made the power it made today on less boost. Today we're making 14 to 15 pounds, and we made 724, 687 torque. And it peaks pretty high for a roots blower, which I'm happy. Peaks about 6,300, so we're gonna shift it about 66, 67.
Yeah, if you look, I mean, if you shifted it 66, 7, 8, 7, whatever.
Yeah, 7,000, yeah.
You're making over 700 horsepower. You can expect it to back up around 55, depending on the rear gear and the rear tire size, 28 versus 26. You can stay above 700 horsepower in the shifts, and that's going to be nasty.
And you're staying well above 650 foot-pounds on the hit.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure it's above 600 foot-pounds even at 2,000 when it's making 15 pounds of boost. So this one, this car's been here a while, so it's like a very big relief to get this one like good. I'm sure the customer will be happy to see it's made power because, you know, I think Dusty probably told him, hey, you're making 511.
Yeah.
But
it was frustrating because it was a lot of work to get it to the dyno the first time. So like we talked about everything that we had to kind of make right.
And
then we put it on the dyno, and then the belt slip, and it's just
we spent
the setup.
Yeah, we spent probably 3 hours that day on it. But anyways, Dusty got one of your pulls, and I will get a little idle rev video on this one because this one is just a little different combination, and I enjoy this car, and we get different kind of things in here to do. So we'll see if he wants to do some track tuning. So if so, you guys hang on for that one. Anything else you want to say on this one?
Let's look at it compared to a centrifugal because we always talk about that. And this is not apples to apples. This car was just a Caprice stock bottom end with a camshaft and a D1 SC Pro Charge.
This is a very good example. Another good example of making around the same horsepower. The Caprice actually made a little bit more top end power, but you can see the differences in how they bring that power on. The roots, of course, gets it all down low, and the centrifugal keeps climbing. And this is a stock bottom end cam only Caprice.
Yeah, this is nothing
So,
done to the Caprice. And this is another example of why this box right here does not tell the whole story.
Yeah.
But it also doesn't mean that this is a bad setup, because if you don't have a 15-inch conversion and suspension and a good drive shaft
Hard on
and
park.
axles, and like we said, you're leaving the line at 680 foot-pounds of torque.
And that's 100 here. So this car is going to be violent on the street, violent on the track, and it'll run really fast, and it would be faster than that other car, but at the cost of a lot of parts, a lot of torque.
Yep.
When you could take this second car and pulley it down, make 800 peak, and then your torque would be still a little less, but you'd be able to get out of the hole.
Yep.
You'd be able to make a good hit on the top end. You're going to freight train. So
it's also one of the reasons why we say an NA cam works well with a centrifugal blower, because they both make their power progressively higher in the RPM range. Whereas you may need something a bit different. Red Hot works for all three.
it really does.
Something a little bit different for something that's making a ton of power immediately.
Yeah, and the centrifugal blower dyno graph usually looks a lot like an all-motor dyno graph with the top end taking off. Yeah. Other than that, the dyno graphs, are pretty similar, and that's because the boost comes on, by RPM. So that is a good one. And real quick before we go, you want to hit him with that STD?
Oh yeah.
You just haven't done that in the last couple, I know.
We'll go again and just look at the conditions and see what we're looking at right now. And these are 2 different days. Obviously, it was a little cooler. So right now, SAE number is 1 to 1. So what the car is showing here is exactly what the drum saw. There's no correcting. So usually standard is going to be 2% higher because of the formula that they use, and that would put us at 740, 703 standard correction.
That's a lot.
So
yeah,
I mean, it added actually 3% today because of the formula.
Yep.
That they use. So
that's either way you put it, that's huge, and the graph is very much a pretty graph as well. No bumps, timing is nice. We added a little bit more up top. Air fuel is great. So anyways, appreciate it. We'll get the dyno sheet here at the end, and until next time.
See you later.
Thanks. This is, like I said, this is one we're very, very, very happy to have done. So I'm sure we'll be happy with it. Thanks again, guys.